There's something beautiful about European cars that are just about like one generation old. It's like this weird thing, a little bit like the crippling depression back in the wintertime due to the lack of vitamin C, but it's a good thing. Can't put my finger on it, okay, but I can, because the word is called depreciation, okay? When it comes down to these cars, a year goes by, a generation goes by, and it's great. She's like a sucker punch to these cars, and oh my goodness, is it lovely when you snag one of them for 30% of their MSRP value just 3 years ago. Because when you look at all the fancy stuff, you get to have all of that without footing the bill. And there's a lot of cars out there that now have a good chunk of automotive bite that still keep the reliability and the style to make everyone happy. I'm Alex at F on Instagram, and today we're gonna be talking about one of the most popular platforms right now to pick up secondhand because of that big old D word, okay? A car that with just a couple 2-tree mods looks brand new and will annoy your neighbors the moment you put a boot mod burble tune on it because it's a trash mod, okay? Get the right modifications. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're gonna...
It's not actually that bad.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we're gonna be talking about you wanting to own a BMW F30. Alright, sorry. And if you just haven't heard of us before, welcome to Fitment Industries. That was a very awkward transition into talking about how we have our very own wheel company called Artisan Art Formed Wheels that we just launched. If you want to go check it out, it'd be absolutely awesome. We also have a badass aftermarket vehicle gallery where you can find out what exactly fits your newly acquired F30 easily without having to dive through the forums or spend hours pulling what's left of your hair out. Right, that was me. I did it when I was 16, and that's why I'm here now talking to you. 3000 GT Fitment was terrible and there was no gallery, okay? Forums are lovely, but do they suck at concise information every once in a while. Now, let's chat about this car, okay? Oh, and subscribe. Yeah, okay, so let's chat about the good old F30, which was, okay, pretty damn good, okay? It encompasses the 6th generation of the BMW 3 Series, like the F30, which is the sedan, the F31, which is the Wagoon, the F34, which is the Fastback or Gran Turismo. And these cars were made from about October of 2011 to right about skis 2019. So quite a bit of time. And this would also be the same time frame that BMW decided to cut a limb off the nameplate and give their coupe and convertible models their own nameplate that would be dubbed the BMW 4 Series. Honestly, BMW changes more stuff about their lineup than probably any other company literally every 3 years. The F30 was a new touch on the age-old company, starting with a designer by the name of Christopher Whale. Now, Christopher was the same guy that reshaped the mini models and the car's key design elements since 2013, which was considered quite simply a success, okay? Christopher built the F30 to almost resemble that of previous generation 3 Series, with only making updates where needed to give it a fresh interpretation. And for the most part, a lot of people like the fresh take on the 3 Series. They're more just concerned about the motors and stuff like that. We'll talk about that later, all right? More of a subtle take on the update versus BMW's more aggressive take on it during its most recent revision. This F30 was quite the heater, and there were some additional small tweaks to the car to give it a sportier look, like the sloping hood, the roof, and Zeek line, which started at the headlamp, ran to the rear door, and a second Zeeky line starting at the front fender all the way back. Now, I don't know what that is, just straight sourcing from a book, which gives it a lightweight performance look even though it was just a 3 Series. That's why it kind of has that creased fender line. Overall, the design elements of Christopher and his team that put into the car were pretty clean. It was so clean that BMW decided to keep the design elements for a relatively long time. It was close enough to its predecessors to be relatable, but new enough to give it a pop that the platform really needed. And the design wasn't the only thing that would be new for the F30. This would be the first generation to be powered by a range of turb skis, and the one thing that kind of sort of upset people, electric power steering. When it was released in 2012, the Geneva Motor Show, this made headlines, okay? And for those that love the purist mentality that BMW typically had or was geared towards, the changes were okay by some, but skeptical by most, just like typical every single time BMW releases something. Just kidding, we're all like that, we all hate change. But it did hit a soft spot because plenty of BMW fans also happen to be massive fans of naturally aspirated engines, just like Porsche. This didn't have that. They started to introduce forced induction. Now, personally, they did it to keep it alive. So I will take anything at this point when it comes down to auto manufacturers trying to do something to keep some sort of performance lineage alive. The inline engine would remain though, with the N20 inline 4 or B48, the N55 3-liter inline 6, or a B58 inline 6. The one most people will snag would be the N55, which would come in the 335 for plenty of reasons, mostly for the fun factor and also the value per dollar, but you can still get the inline 4 if you really want to, if that's the only thing that you can find. We won't say anything, we promise. Regardless of what F30 you look at, as you get later in the generations, the power, the tech, and the angry headlights increase with it, because that's just how things go. With the famous F30 335 rolling out in 2011 and staying until 2015. 300 horsepower, 300 foot-pounds of torque from the factory single turbo was what people like you and people like me stare at and want, because it's a great value per dollar. And I'm telling you, the hood line crease over the headlight is probably the reason, in my opinion, this car will look good for decades. The F30 just did something right. You can get it in a rear-wheel drive format, which is great, and from a reliability standpoint, it was a notable step forward for BMW. Does that mean it's perfect? Well, I mean, probably not, but it is a good step. So did people like it when it initially came out? Question mark. Well, do people like change? Question mark. Never answer a question with a question. No, okay? But outside of the typical BMW stuff, the F30 has become a car that many enthusiasts look to get their feet wet when it comes to jump into modifying a European car that may or may not also be your daily driver. Which is why we're done talking about the short and brief history of the F30. You want some of that? Well, let me tell you what. There actually isn't that much on this one, all right? BMW was kind of subtle compared to the other ones. No, we are here to talk about you wanting to own one of these angry headlight bad boys. So you want an F30 BMW, which is just a fancy way of saying so you want a 3 Series in a very specific gear range, okay, in some sort of model type. Probably the 335, to be honest, because that's the one that all of us are gonna go to. Well, set down your electrical jokes from the M3 community and grab your favorite ammo, because we're about to make fun of N54s. And now, we're gonna talk about what it's like to actually own one. First things first, there's a couple 2-3 things you need to know about this car before you pick one up. In all honesty, especially since there's a vocal, massive community of BMW enthusiasts out there that will tell you if you did the right thing or the wrong thing, okay? You don't need to ask them though. They'll tell you regardless on if you want their opinion or not, because it is a huge, massive community. Here's the biggest thing with getting an F30. The handling is different than the predecessors. This is mostly due to the fact that it's an electronic steering versus hydraulic steering. Now, some people say that it's lost its soul, its connection to the road, while others love it. They don't think there's anything wrong with it. So if you're in doubt, the best way to go about it is drive a previous generation to see if you like it more than the F30. That is truly really the best and only way to know. In my opinion, I think that if you want something a little bit more connected to the road, go buy something 35 years old. You don't need to only get the 335 though. The 328 is capable of handling 300 horsepower and torque with an intake, tune, downpipes, intercoolers, and a couple extra ponies with water meth if you want. It just so happens that most go with the 330 to the 335 for the larger platform and modification ability, and the fact that it's most of the top range that you can get on the F30 series without jumping into the M, which is not really an F30. It starts to get confusing there. The 330 is a great place to start from a tuning and a mod perspective. Basic mods push you over the 300 mark without ruining reliability or having too many issues. The B48 is also stronger on paper than the previous N20 motor. Some debate, but for the most part, it is a little bit better. The fact that it's a closed deck block is great for enthusiasts, as it is a bit stronger. The 335 though, super hot fire, okay? It's not a massive jump over the predecessor, and there are still issues, but it's nothing that you can't handle. The 335 single turbo though can be an absolute hoot, literally hoot. 400 horsepower, baby! You can get it up to 400 horsepower and 450 foot-pounds of torque with some simple tunes and a few bolt-ons. Not only that, but playing with a single turbo setup can be fun, and playing with the torque range becomes a blast when you introduce E85 to your life. There's something to be said here though, that the modification skill I would say is a little bit taller than entry-level platforms. What I mean by that is it does take a little bit more work to get this thing to do what you want versus jumping into something a little bit more basic like an LS. As you go into modifying the 335i, you'll need to learn about things like electrical or EWG wastegate versus pneumatic wastegate. Pneumatic wastegates. Why put a P there if it doesn't exist, okay? And their differences. Try to get EWGs as they're on the newer 335s and they're generally better. You'll need to learn about how that plays into high flow cats and the specific tune you'll need to ensure the computer remains happy and smiling versus throwing it into limp mode every single time you go to Watt. Lars had one. watt and go into limp mode, and it was awkward all the time. However, the sandwich recipe for success on the platform, if you want to keep it easy, especially as you jump into the 335, is very, very simple. And you don't even have to take my word for it. The internet and communities will tell you what to do. JB4 piggyback tune. That's like a go-to must do, all right? Intake, BMS is a common one, but you can get multiple different types. Most people go with a BMS. Catalyst downpipe. Don't tell the EPA, okay? But this part helps a ton with breathing in the turbo and getting the gas moving. Honestly, anything that's ever gonna help with breathing or exhaust is really gonna help you with any sort of force-induced car, as long as you keep heat soak away. 3.5 isn't your exhaust. Come on, you have to. Keep it cool. A front mount intercooler will help with cooling, especially since the N55s need all the help they can get in that tiny compact car. They did stuff a lot into these engine bays, which can make it a little bit difficult to work on, especially if you're new to working on something as compact as this. E85, this one scares people sometimes, but it's totally worth it. As long as you get the tune, you'll be okay. Just make sure you remind your friends if they do borrow your car that you need to put E85 in there, or unless you have a flex tune or something that automatically tells you if it's E85 or not. The great things about this platform is that there are so many places, so many communities that will help you because it's such a mass-produced car. That list above has a full write-up on BMW tuning. I don't even make it up. You can join hundreds of thousands of forums, groups, and clubs that know so much about these cars that you'll likely never run out of things to do. In addition to that, they'll help you along every step of the way. Pair that up with a proper fitment and you're practically set to go literally anywhere, and these cars look incredible for what they are. And I recommend doing a staggered setup. You can go a 9.5 and a 10.5 with plus 22s with either 19s or 18s, while others are doing an 8.5 plus 35 front and 10.5 plus 35 rear with two 35 fronts or two 55/65 rears. No matter what, a staggered setup looks incredibly clean here, especially with the wider arches. Especially something like a double 5-spoke or a directional 7-spoke like the Elder, there's the Plug, or a double 5-spoke, you're gonna make it look really good. The 35 series sidewall gets an aggressive sporty look, and something like BC Racing coilovers just nail the car's overall look without having to worry about any sort of reliability. You can get a nice, good, flush fitment without having to worry about daily driving. Throw some aero on it and you'll be happy. The question is are these cars perfect? And the answer is no. Are they a great entry-level car to start? Kind of. They're a little bit tougher, but can they be an absolute beast? And the answer is absolutely. The F30s are a perfect combination of cars that have already depreciated, the ability to modify, how available they are, and good looks that makes 99% of every car enthusiast out there happy. You just need to be a little bit more careful playing around with the motor, keeping your maintenance up to date, and for the love of God, just try to stay away from the only modification you're gonna do, which is a burble tune. There's so many other things out there that you can do, okay? I'm trying to sleep at night and I hear it. I hear it in the distance. It's like a nightmare. I can't tell if it's true or not. I'm trying to work on things and I hear it drive across our... But what do you think about the F30? Let us know below, and if you're looking for aftermarket wheels, tires, or suspension, be sure to hit us up over at fitmentindustries.com. I'm Alex from Fitment Industries, and we will see you later. Peace.